Hello, friends. So, today we're going to discuss Class 7th Science, Chapter 3 Properties of Natural Resources. Heading. Let's recall. What are the gases present in air? Why is air called a homogeneous mixture? 2. What are the uses of the various gases in air? Heading. Properties of air. Air is all around us. We cannot see it, yet we feel the presence of air. When we inhale, air is taken through the nose. If we blow on our hand through our lips, we can feel the air. Try this. 1. Take a stick from a broom or a paper or a plastic straw. Tie a thread at its center and hang it so that it remains horizontal. Tie two rubber balloons of the same size at two ends of the stick. See to it that the sticks remain horizontal. Now remove one balloon, inflate it, and tie it again at its original position. Does the stick remain horizontal? The stick goes down on the side of the inflated balloon. This means that air has weight. Air is a mixture of gases. Therefore, like all matter, it has mass and weight. 2. Take an injection syringe without the needle. Pull its piston and observe it as you do. The piston can be pulled out easily. The piston then remains in that position even if you let it go. Now close the inlet of the syringe tightly with your thumb, pull the piston and let it go. Does the force required to pull the piston more or less than before? Does the piston remain as it is after you let it go? The molecules of the gases in the air are in constant position. When these molecules strike a body, they create the pressure on that body. This is the pressure of air that we called atmospheric pressure. On pulling the piston with the inlet hole of the syringe closed, more space becomes available to the air in the syringe and it becomes rarefied. As a result, the pressure of the air in the syringe is lowered. Comparatively, the pressure of the air outside is very high. That is why, when the pulled out piston is released, it is immediately pushed in. If this experiment is repeated, holding the syringe in different positions like vertical, horizontal, or inclined, the piston is found to go in the same extent in all cases. From this, we can infer that atmospheric pressure is the same in all directions. Find out, is there any atmospheric pressure on the moon? Box, do you know? Under ordinary conditions, atmospheric pressure at sea level is about 1,0400 newtons per square meter. It can be measured with the help of barometer. As we go higher above sea level, atmospheric pressure decreases. Box, a little fun. Place a piece of cardboard on the mouth of a glass completely filled with water. Holding the cardboard firmly in place with one hand, invert the glass quickly. Take your one hand away from the cardboard. What do you see? Box. Great scientist. In 1726, the Swedish scientist Daniel Bernoulli put forth the important principle that pressure of the air decreases when its velocity increases, while the pressure of the air increases when its velocity decreases. If a body is moving through air, the air pressure decreases perpendicularly to the direction of the motion, and then the air in its surroundings flows rapidly from higher pressure to lower pressure. Heading. Observe and discuss. Take some water in a plastic cup and hold a straw upright in it. Hold a small piece of another straw near the upper end of the first straw and perpendicular to that straw. Blow hard through the small piece of straw. You will see a fountain of water. Why did this happen? On blowing through the straw, the air at its open end is pushed away and hence the pressure of the air at the opening goes down. As the pressure of the air near the upper end of the erect straw becomes less than the atmospheric pressure, the water in the cup is pushed from where the pressure is higher to where it is lower, that is, in the upward direction, and the water comes out in the form of a fountain. The more forceful you blow, the higher will be the fountain. The straw fountain works on Bernoulli principle. Heading: Use your brain power. What is the effect of increased temperature on the pressure of air? When there exists a difference in the air pressure at two different places, the air starts flowing from the place of higher pressure to the place of lower pressure. At such times, we feel a breeze or a wind blowing. Thus, winds are an effect of difference in air pressure. You will learn about this in the lesson called winds in geography. Heading: Try this. Take ice cubes in a glass up to 3/4 of its height. Now observe what happens. How did the water droplets appear on outside of the glass? Due to ice cubes in the glass, the air surrounding the glass cools down. As the water vapor in the air cools down, it condenses and gets transformed into water. It is this water that collects on the outer surface of the glass. The level of humidity is different in different places. Similarly, the humidity level also changes from time to time during the period of a single day. The level of humidity of the air is determined by its capacity to hold water vapor. During night or at dawn, when the temperature of air is low, its capacity to hold the vapor is less. At such times, the excess vapor is transformed to water droplets. This is what we called dew. In the afternoon, the capacity of the air to hold the moisture also increases. Then, compared to the full capacity to hold water, the proportion of moisture in the air is less, and we feel that the air is dry. The proportion of water vapor in the air is high during the monsoon and in coastal areas. As a result, we feel the dampness or humidity. In summer, wet clothes dry quickly, but in the rains, they do not. Why is this so? Heading: Use your brain power. 1. Dip an uncorked inverted bottle in a slanting position into the water in a white container. What do you observe? 2. What change takes place in a balloon on filling air in it? Heading: Try this. We know from the activities above that air has properties like occupying space, having a certain volume, having mass and weight. Air is a mixture of very fine particles of some gases, dust, smoke, and moisture. When rays of light fall on these minute particles, the particles spread the light in all directions. This natural phenomenon is called scattering of light. Heading: Temperature regulation. The earth receives energy from the sun. This energy is reflected by the earth in the form of heat. The constituents of air surrounding the earth, such as water vapor, carbon dioxide, observe a part of this heat and give it to the other constituents of air. As a result, the earth's surface remains warm and thereby becomes suitable for living world on the earth. If there were no air on the earth, the average temperature of the earth's surface would have been very low. Box. Heading: Use your brain power. 1. What will happen if all the air surrounding us is removed? 2. Will sound be heard in space? Heading: Transmission of sound. All the sounds that we hear reach us through the surrounding air. The density of air also changes due to changes in its temperature. In the winter, the density of the air increases. We can hear the whistle of a distant train clearly early in the morning in the winter. Air is useful as a medium for the transmission of sound. Heading: Properties of water. Heading: Let's recall. 1. What are the states in which the water is found? What interference will you draw from the pictures alongside? Water occurs in liquid state under ordinary condition. Water is a fluid substance. Water does not have its own shape, but it has a volume. It can pass through small holes or seep through very small gaps or cracks. On pouring water in an oil clad dish, water does not spread but forms small round drops. Why does this happen? Heading, try this. 1. Take a plastic bottle more than half full of water. Mark the water level on the bottle. Keep this bottle upright in the freezer for making ice. Open the freezer after a couple of hours and observe. You will see that the water has changed into ice. Note the level of ice. You will find that the ice level is higher than the water level before freezing. What can you infer from this? As the water freezes to form ice, it expands and its volume increases. On freezing, how much was this increase in the volume of the water? In what proportion did it increase? 2. Take a bucket of water, drop many different kinds of articles in it. Make separate list of articles which sink in the water and those that float on it. 3. Take some water in a pot and add a few pieces of ice to it. Observe what happens. Why do we see the ice floats on water? Ice is lighter than water. When the water freezes to form ice, it becomes lighter than the original liquid. When water freezes, that is, when it transforms into a solid state, its volume increases. Therefore, the density of the ice is less than the density that of water. That is why ice floats on water. Box. Heading, density of water. The interrelation between volume and mass of a substance. The space occupied by a substance is its volume. The store of matter in a substance is called its mass. Density is equals to mass upon volume. Mass is measured in grams and volume in cubic centimeter. Hence, density is equals to gram divided by cubic centimeters. Hence, gram per cubic centimeter is the unit of density. If the mass is 1 liter of water is 1 kilogram, then what will be the density of water? Think. Will the mass of water change when its state changes during the transformation of liquid water into ice? Heading, anomalous behavior of water. Usually when the temperature of a substance is lowered, its density increases as the volume decreases. But water is an exception to the rule. Fourth, keep a glass full of water in the freezer for 5 to 10 minutes. Then take it out and observe it carefully. From which part in the glass does the water first start freezing? The density of water is peculiar. When water at normal temperature starts cooling, its density increases like that of most liquids. However, if its temperature falls below 4 degrees Celsius, its density starts decreasing. This means that the density of water is maximum at 4 degrees Celsius. If the temperature of the water is lowered below 4 degrees Celsius, its density decreases and volume increases. It means that the water expands when the temperature falls below 4 degrees Celsius. This is called the anomalous behavior of water. Heading, use your brain power. In cold countries, how do aquatic animals remain alive even after the rivers or lakes freeze in water? Try this. Take 2 big glasses of water. Add 4 to 5 spoonfuls of salt to the water in one glass and dissolve it completely. Now place a potato in the water in the second glass. The potato will sink. Take out the potato from that glass and put it in the salt water and observe. The density of water in that glass is greater due to the dissolved salts. The potato floats in that water because of the increased density. Why is it easier to swim in the sea than in a well or a lake? In the above activity, the salt dissolves in water in the glass. That is, it disappears. What happens when it disappears like this? When the salt dissolves in water, the particles spread in water. Slowly they become smaller and smaller. Ultimately, they become so small that they cannot be seen. That is, they mix completely with water. This is what is called dissolving. Solute, the substance that dissolves. Here it's salt. Solvent, the substance in which the water dissolves. Water. Solution, what we get when the solute dissolves in the solvent. Box. Heading. Uses of water according to its properties. 1. Water is useful for water transport due to its fluidity. Water falling down from a height is used to generate electricity with the help of a generator. Water is a good coolant and is used in motor vehicles to control the temperature of the engine. 3. Many substances are soluble in water. Water is a universal solvent. Water is used as a solvent in factories, laboratories, foodstuffs, and in various types of biological processes occurring in body such as digestion, excretion, etc. Fourth, water is useful for cleaning purpose such as for bathing, washing clothes. Heading soil. Heading let's recall. What is meant by soil? How is soil formed? 2. What are the ingredients of soil? Heading Properties of soil. Color is an important property of soil. The soil gets its color as a result of several processes. The color of the soil near land surface is darker than the color of the lower layers. Soil may be of different colors such as black, red, copper, yellow, grey. The color of the soil are useful for its classification. Besides, they are indirectly useful in indicating several properties of the land. In this way, the properties of the soil, such as fertility, drainage of water, capacity to hold water, becomes clear from its color. The color of the soil depends upon its texture and its organic ingredients as well as on chemical ingredients like iron, lime. Try this. Apparatus, 3 measuring cylinders, 3 glass funnels, filter paper, water, fine sand, coarse sand, soil from an earthen pot used for growing plants, etc. Procedure. Fit cones of the filter paper in the 3 glass funnels. Fill the cones with equal quantities of A. Sand, B. Sandy soil and C. Clay respectively. Place the funnels on the measuring cylinder. Pour 1 test tube of water into each of the funnel and observe how much water is collected in each of the measuring cylinder. What interface will you draw from this? Heading: Soil texture. Soil contains particles of different sizes. The texture of the soil is determined by the proportion of particles of various sizes in it. Following are types of soils on the basis of its texture. Heading: Sandy soil. The proportion of sand, that is large particles, is high in sandy soil. Water rapidly drains through the sandy soil. It is easy to plough this soil, but it is less fertile. This is because the particles of the sand are made of a mineral called silicon dioxide (bracket begin) quartz (bracket ends). These particles do not dissolve in water and therefore the soil has a very little capacity to supply nutrients. Heading: Stilt soil. The particles of the stilt soil are of medium size. Stilt soil is not as plowable as sandy soil. However, it is much more plowable than the clay soil. This soil contains a large proportion of organic material. Its capacity to supply the nutrients is much greater. Stilt soil is also called sedimentary soil. Heading: Clay soil. In this soil, the proportion of small particles is maximum. The particles of the clay soil feel smooth to touch. Clay soil has high water holding capacity. Heading: Use your brain power. 1. Why is it difficult to plow clay soil? 2. Why it is easy to plow sandy soil? 3. What is the water holding capacity of silt soil? 4th, which of the soil is suitable for cultivation? Why? Heading: Soil structure. The structure of the soil depends upon the different shapes of the particles in it. Soil occurs in the form of columnar, laminar, granular, as well as block shaped structures. Box. Importance of soil structure. The fertility of soil depends upon soil structure. The advantages of good soil are as follows: 1. Roots get sufficient supply of oxygen. 2. Water drainage is good. Therefore, the roots of the plants grow well. Heading: Uses of the soil. 1. Plant conservation to help the plants grow. 2. Water conservation. Soil holds water. As a result, by means of bunds and lakes, we can get water for use throughout the year. Plasticity. Soil can be given any required shape. This property of soil is called plasticity. Because of its plasticity, we can use it to make articles of a variety of shapes. These articles can be baked to make them hard. Water storage earthen pots, earthen lamps, ideals, bricks are articles made from soil. Some useful types of soils. 1. China clay, bracket begin, kaolin, bracket closed. It is white in color. It is used to make crockery, bathroom tiles, tanks, laboratory apparatus, masks, jars, etc. 2. Shadu soil. It is whitish in color. It is used for making statues and ideal. Third, terracotta soil. This soil is red in color. Decorative articles and pots used for growing plants are made from this soil. Fourth, multani soil. This soil is used in cosmetics. Box. Do you know? China clay is an industrial mineral of the type kaolinite. It is found in China and hence called China clay. Upon heating, this soil acquires a glaze and hardness, therefore it is used for making crockery. Heading: Soil testing. The proportion of the various ingredients of the soil can be determined by soil testing. During soil testing, the soil is examined for color, texture, and the properties of the organic matter in it. Soil is tested to find out if there is a deficiency of any ingredients and to decide what measures should be taken to remove the deficiency. The soil sample collected for testing is dried in an open space in the shade for 8 to 10 days. It is then shifted through a sieve. Two tests, namely the pH and the electrical conductivity tests, are particularly useful in finding out the characteristics of soil. You can determine the fertility of the soil in your fields with the help of different tests. Heading: Cause of diminished soil fertility. 1. Soil pH less than 6 or higher than 8. 2. Low proportion of organic matter. 3. No proper drainage of water. 4th, repeated cultivation of the same crop. 5th, continuous use of saline water. 6th, excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Box: World Soil Day, 5th December, to make efforts for the conservation of soil. Box. Heading: Great Scientist. The Danish scientist Sorensen put forth the concept of pH based on the concentration of hydrogen ions. To determine the pH of the soil, a mixture of water and soil in the proportion of 1:2 is taken and tested using several indicators. Accordingly, the soil may be found to be one of the following three types. 1. Acidic soil, pH less than 6.5. 2. Neutral soil, pH 6.5 to 7.5. 3. Alkaline soil, pH higher than 7.5. Box. Heading: Always remember, soil texture is disturbed if chemical fertilizers are used excessively and that land becomes unsuitable for sowing. Crops should be rotated in order to maintain the fertility of the land. For example, The fertility of land decreases after a harvesting of wheat. Hence, leguminous crops like peanut, moong, moth bean, pea, lentil, Bengal gram, soya bean should be cultivated to restore the fertility of the soil. Thank you.